Hannibal Hayes and Kid Curry are two of the West's most notorious outlaws. Unfortunately, modern times are making it harder and harder to rob banks and trains and still get away clean. So our boys decide to give up their life of crime. They apply for the governor's amnesty program and are given a green light. But there's a catch. Well, there's two catches. One, they have to stay out of trouble for at least a year. Number two, until the amnesty is granted, the deal is a secret, meaning our heroes are still wanted men with a $20,000 price tag on their heads. To keep their identities hidden, Sheriff Lom Trevor dubs them Smith and Jones, and together they roam from town to town trying to make an honest living while carefully avoiding the law. It's a long road, but our boys are determined to make things right. It's witty, it's adventurous, and it is not your average Western. It's Alias Smith and Jones, Season 1. Alias Smith and Jones is one of my all-time favorite TV shows. I fell in love with it as a kid, and it has not lost 1 ounce of its charm all these years later. The primary draw of the series is the relationship between the two leads. Hayes and Curry, played by Pete Doole and Ben Murphy, are the yin and yang. Hayes is the thinker, the planner. He's the one who keeps them reaching for the prize when it seems like an unlikely dream. Curry, that's Ben Murphy, he's the fast gun, he's got the temper, but he's also got a really soft heart and an easy smile. On screen, Doole and Murphy had the chemistry of Redford and Newman, and you won't really see that when the series first begins, but the more they work together, wow, the more delightful it became. The pilot movie, which is on this DVD set, was done as a 90-minute TV movie helmed by Universal staple Glenn A. Larson, who did Battlestar Galactica and Hardy Boys. It's a lot more slapstick than the series is itself. It's got this kind of Disney-esque feel to it, like the Apple Dumpling Gang. We see Hayes and his gang of screw-ups attempt to rob a train and a bank. The plot is so humorous, it's really hard to imagine these outlaws are any kind of a threat to anybody, and the sense of danger to our boys is pretty much non-existent. The show was picked up as a mid-season replacement in January of 1971, and Roy Huggins, who had done Maverick and later Beretta, took creative control of the show. He wrote a lot of the episodes under the pseudonym John Thomas James, and with him came a change in the whole feel of the show. The humor went from slapstick to witty, and the drama ratcheted up a notch or 2 or 3. And the chemistry between the stars, it totally blossomed. The second episode, Exit from Wickenburg, is the best example of the series as a whole. In that episode, you see the smooth criminal side of the boys, the way they worked together. Hayes is the brain and Curry is the muscle. And you can see how truly formidable they were as a team. You also get to see Curry's soft side as he gently explains to a young fan the downside of being the fastest gun in the West. And the clever side of Hayes as he clears the casino of cheats and thieves. And there is a real danger as someone tries their hardest to convince the boys to leave town. At the end of its short first season, Alias Smith and Jones was at the bottom of the ratings heap, but the series was renewed for a second season. Young Ben Murphy was enjoying his newly found fame and his teen idol status, but sadly his co-star Pete Doole had a lot on his mind. He was very concerned with global issues, and he was unhappy with his own performance in his career. He'd had some trouble with the law and some trouble with alcohol, and in the end, it was basically just difficult for him to go on. He did do a great job always on the show, and everyone who worked with him said that, he was always there, he was always prepared to work, and he really brought life to Hannibal Hayes. Sadly, when the show broke for Christmas in December, they all went away thinking it was going to be a super new year. But on December 31st, 1971, Pete Doole committed suicide. It was so unexpected. Well, how could it not be? And it rocked fans and friends, and it was just an incredible tragedy, particularly because this young man was such a brilliant actor and had so much of his life ahead of him. It was hard for everyone to handle, particularly the cast and crew of Smith and Jones, who had to go right back in and continue making this series. The producers made a very fast decision. They replaced Pete Duel with Roger Davis, who had been the narrator and also a guest star at one time on the show. He came in just 3 days after the death of his co-star, and then poor Ben Murphy had to give the performance of his life, delivering lines that he'd rehearsed with Duel to Davis. The cameras rolled, and they finished the second season. They also went on to another season with Roger Davis, and although there are a lot of good episodes in the later part of the series, they never really captured the magic that Hayes and Carey had when they were played by Pete Duel and Ben Murphy. If you're not a fan of Westerns, do not let that put you off. The series has very little in common with shows like Gunsmoke or Bonanza. I mean, there are plenty of gunfights, poker playing, and lots of horse riding, but it's really more of an action comedy that just happens to be set in the Old West. Watch it for Murphy and Duel, because if you love buddy shows, this is one of the top buddy shows of all time. Alias Smith and Jones, Season 1, get it on DVD, or look around on demand and you might just find it on Netflix, Hulu, and who knows where else.